Welcome. I'm so glad to be back with you. Every story you're about to hear is real, terrifying, and sent in by listeners just like you. So, turn off the lights, wrap yourself in a blanket, grab some snacks. You're in for a night of true horror. Before we dive in, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and leave a like. It truly helps and inspires us to bring you even more chilling tales. Are you ready? Then settle in, because it's time for the long-awaited scary stories for a rainy evening. Usually it's the thick stench of sweat in the library that reminds me just how hard we're supposed to be studying. Of course, I study anyway, but some exams are heavier than others. I let my eyes drift over the chaos. Folders stacked like tombstones, notebooks bleeding ink, dead pens scattered like fallen soldiers. Stay late enough and you see caffeine graveyards, crumpled cups, empty cans teetering dangerously at the edge of tables. And sometimes, like tonight, there's a couple sitting quietly in the corner, holding each other and crying without a sound. At some point, I needed a break. I pushed through the crowded tables, headed downstairs, and stepped outside into the cool air. These vapes, they're garbage. I find myself running to the bathroom too much. Cigarettes, they make you earn it. I tore open a fresh pack, tapped it against my palm, and brought the lighter to my lips, hungry for that first poisonous breath to calm my lungs. When the door behind me burst open, the cigarette fell from my mouth as some guy slammed into me, full speed. Blonde kid, young, and now he was on all fours, vomiting hard onto the grass. By the time he wiped his mouth, the ground was soaked. "You owe me a smoke," I muttered. "What?" he croaked. I slipped an arm under his shoulder and helped him up. "Kidding, you okay?" His legs were shaking, so I sat him against the wall and lit another cigarette while he caught his breath. As the nicotine buzz hit me, I offered him one. He shook his head. "I don't smoke." "Your loss." He stared at the cigarette, then after a few deep breaths, took it. "Eli," he rasped, blowing smoke out his nose like some medieval dragon. After another drag, his shoulders loosened. He slid down the wall, hugging his knees. I wanted to get into Harvard. I took back the cigarette. Who didn't? But the world feeds on ignorance. When you're top of your class, nothing less than the best will do. And if your family knows the right people, that's what you're promised. "How old are you?" I asked, watching the orange ember glow. "Freshman, just turned 19 last month." I smiled. "Senior here, fourth year, graduating if I pass this final." Said the same thing once, probably with a little more puke involved. I shook out another cigarette. "Truth is, it never really stops. You just get better at aiming for the toilet." Eli didn't argue. He took the second smoke. "How you feeling now?" I asked. "Better, I think," he whispered. "Yeah, well, now I'm the one freaking it out." The wind kicked up, and we both shivered under the brick awning. "Do me a favor, just relax. It's gonna be fine." We finished the smokes in silence. Before heading back inside, we swapped numbers. He asked if I wanted to study together. "Sorry," I shook my head. "I study solo. Good luck, though." The morning of the exam, I was in the dorm bathroom throwing up what little dinner I'd managed to eat. Sleep had pretty much vanished this past week. And it wasn't just me. Lately, I'd been tripping over students passed out on the sidewalks. Too exhausted to even make it home from the library, they curled up on street corners like stray dogs. I'd never seen anything like it. The whole campus smelled like fear. Last night, Eli texted me, begging to cram one last time. We didn't study much. I mostly listened to him curse the university. He groaned that if he'd known the truth about this place, he'd never have come. I nodded, but I wanted to say, no kidding. His parents told him that with his scores, he'd get into the most prestigious school in the world. So elite, 99.9% of the population didn't even know it existed. Visions of luxury had lured him in. And here he was. Not my place to judge. First year, after a few international flights and a long bus ride into the Nevada desert, I arrived at a little town that barely showed up on maps. The instructors told us this would be our home for the next 4 years. No holidays, no family visits, no calls home, no electronics, just pencil and paper. Classes started immediately. Student numbers hovered somewhere between 300 and 500, but the count always changed. One curriculum, different schedules, no homework, no extra credit, 2 exams a year, no second chances if you failed. I haven't really made any friends here. Too busy. Eli waved helplessly at his notebook. Kid was thin, but there was an athlete's frame under the stress. It was late. I started packing my stuff. If we pass tomorrow, dinner's on me. You pick the place. Eli laughed. I'm gonna run up your tab, man. Good, I grinned. Not much else to spend money on around here. But this morning, thoughts of dinner were gone. I drowned myself in coffee, trying to shake off 3 hours of sleep, and headed to the exam hall, flipping through notes as I walked. A line had already formed outside. Eli was sitting cross-legged on the pavement, nose buried in his notes. He spotted me when the doors opened. "We got this, right?" he whispered. "We got this." Students filed into the hall, a big room with a stage up front. We sat near the back. A few more stragglers slipped in before the doors shut. Instructors took their places, one by every exit. Everyone froze when a desperate knocking echoed. "Please," a muffled voice begged. "The bus broke down. Let me in. I'm not late." But everyone knew the rules. No one moved. An instructor stepped on stage, holding a mic. He smiled like he'd just heard a dirty joke he couldn't wait to share. "Congratulations. You've made it to the final exam of the year." His words were sharp, like he chewed each one before spitting it out. As upperclassmen may know, this semester's structure is a little different. Whispers rippled through the crowd. Normally, we had stacks of textbooks on obscure disciplines, dead languages like Sanskrit and Aramaic, black hole physics, the evolution of reptiles, cancer as a biological weapon. But this semester, just one book, Dark Psychology. The North Wind forged the Vikings, the instructor said. Adaptability in unknown and extreme conditions. That is the most valuable trait for your future. He rocked on his heels, giddy with excitement. The air in the room grew heavier. Eli kept glancing at me, searching for reassurance. I had none to give. "We begin now. Pens and pencils are unnecessary. You may stand, move around the hall, but as always, you are forbidden to leave." His smile widened. "First, check under your seat. Your materials await." A wave of confusion swept through the room. Eli shrugged. His seat was empty. I reached down and felt something cold and heavy. When I pulled it out, my stomach turned. A black 9mm handgun rested in my palm, familiar from previous courses. Above the gasps and rising panic, the instructor's voice boomed. "Under select seats, we have placed the decision-making tools. If you have one, look at your neighbors. Yes, to your left and right. Study their faces, hear their arguments, then make your choice." I couldn't take my eyes off the gun. Someone tugged my sleeve. I turned to meet the gaze of a guy my age. Straight nose, brown eyes. He glanced at the weapon, then extended his hand. "Tyler," he said, gripping tight. "Final year, last test. I want to go home, see my family." I nodded. "Eli," someone yelped on my other side. I turned. "I'm Eli. I'm a freshman. Just had my birthday. I want to live." Nausea clawed at my throat. Black spots swam at the edges of my vision. I forced myself to breathe. Groups were forming now, tight circles. The noise bounced off the walls. I climbed over the rows and pressed my back against the rear wall. Tyler ran up first, grabbing my arm. "I'm not asking you." A loud clang cut him off. A small girl in a group had dropped her gun. She trembled like a leaf, unable to pick it up. One of the guys knelt, grabbed the weapon on, and without hesitation, shot the other in the face. A red bloom spread just right of the man's nose, and his body crumpled like gravity had doubled. Blood sprayed from the back of his head. The girl shrieked and collapsed. Eli, halfway over a row, recoiled and fell backward. The shooter turned to the instructor at the door. "That's it, right?" The instructor nodded. The guy dropped the gun. He glanced once at the body, shuddered, and headed for the exit. Tyler gripped my shoulders. "Give it to me," he demanded. "You don't have to do anything. I'll do it." He held out his hand, waiting for the cold metal to fall into his palm. I watched as staff cleaned the stage. The girl was carried off, the body covered, the floor scrubbed. "The first decision is made," the instructor announced. Another shot rang out. A scream followed. "And the second." Suddenly, I was on the floor, vision blurred, head pounding. Pain spread from my jaw. I turned and saw Tyler reaching for the gun he'd knocked from my hands. I managed to get on my knees as he stood. His right hand twitched, knuckles split open from punching me. He pointed the gun between my eyes. "Please," I croaked. That black hole of a barrel sucked all the light from the room. I started shaking. Eli slammed into him like a truck. They tumbled. Tyler scrambled for the gun, but Eli was on top, pressing his forearm into Tyler's face, pinning him down. The weapon lay a few feet away. Eli reached for it blindly. Tyler bucked, throwing him off. The gun was back in Tyler's grip, aimed at Eli. The kid curled into a ball, covered his ears, and whimpered. "Well, well," the instructor sneered from the stage. "So much for all your knowledge." The gun clicked. A misfire. Tyler racked the slide, trying to clear the jam. That's when I hit him, weak, wrist snapping on impact, but lucky. He slumped, dazed, stared at me like he wanted an explanation. Eli raised the gun and brought the butt down. It cracked Tyler's forehead, opening a bloody grin across his face. Confusion drained from his eyes, replaced by nothing. Another crunch. His arms spasmed. Eli kept swinging over and over until Tyler's head was just a red, jagged mess. The ringing in my ears faded. I could hear again. Nearby groups stood frozen in horror. "Oh," Eli whispered. "What the hell? What did I just do?" "Bravo!" the mic shrieked. I dragged his trembling body from the puddle of gore. My wrist throbbed, but I barely felt it. We walked past the instructor, out into the cool daylight. We lay in a field for a long time, staring at the clouds in silence. The grass tickled our necks. The air smelled like dandelions. Somewhere, distant fireworks popped, but they didn't scare us anymore. The world was beautiful. We weren't. Dinner was amazing. Eli wasn't kidding. He devoured 3 entrees before ordering dessert. "He's paying," Eli told the waiter when the check came. I smiled and nodded. We walked home, stomachs full, heads empty. At his dorm, we shook hands, hugged, promised to stay in touch. I wished him well. Good luck. Tomorrow the buses would take the seniors to the airport, back home. And after that, who knows? I'm sure the post-graduation euphoria won't last. The future is waiting. Sooner or later, someone or something will call on our skills. The instructor said our careers are already written. All that's left is to wait. Feeling scared yet? I hope you didn't forget to leave a like and subscribe to our channel. It really helps us create even more chilling stories just for you. If you're ready, then let's continue. Get ready. The scariest part is still ahead. I don't need your pity. I just need someone to tell me I'm not crazy. I went through every possible explanation. exhaustion, hallucinations, gas poisoning, but none of them fit. I know what I saw in that cave. I know what we heard and, more importantly, what we felt. You can say I was wrong, fine. Just don't say it didn't happen. It was my friend Claire's idea. She always had a taste for risk, exploring abandoned buildings, hiking off trail, diving at night. Usually I'd talk her out of it. But this time, I don't know, something about the way she described the cave sparked my curiosity. It's not on any map, she said. A guy on a geology forum posted the coordinates and then deleted his account. He said the wind sounded different there. I should have said no. We left early, just 2 backpacks, headlamps, spare batteries, and a safety rope. There was no cell signal where we were going. The entrance was narrow, more a crack in the limestone than a proper opening. We had to squeeze sideways between jagged rocks just to reach the first chamber. It was colder inside than it should have been. The air was dead, unmoving. Claire joked about ancient burial grounds. I didn't laugh. The walls were damp, as if they were sweating rather than just wet. And the stone, it was strange, covered in thin, deep scratches, irregular patterns, not from pickaxes, not natural erosion. It looked intentional. We moved deeper. The surface light disappeared, leaving only the narrow beams from our headlamps. The passage narrowed, then opened into a wide chamber. I remember thinking the ceiling was too high for how deep we were, like we stood inside a space that shouldn't exist. Claire moved forward, scanning the walls with her light. That's when we found it, a bundle of bones tied together with what looked like human hair hanging from the ceiling on a coarse sinew. No carved symbols, just a mass of bones, swaying slightly. I whispered, Claire, I don't think this place is abandoned. She didn't answer right away. When she did, her voice sounded hollow. This wasn't in the pictures. Pictures? She hadn't mentioned photos before. I didn't ask. I was too distracted by the smell suddenly thickening in the air, like meat left out in the sun, but sweeter. And then I heard it. Something scraping against stone. Not close, not far. Somewhere in that massive, impossible chamber with us. I turned and thought, just for a second, that I saw movement. A long, thin shadow peeling off the wall. Claire was already backing away, her face pale in the flashlight beam. I grabbed her hand and whispered, we need to leave. Now. She didn't argue. We turned back, but the tunnel, it had changed. The grooves on the walls were deeper, fresh, some still wet. Claire muttered to herself, I swear I counted the turns. I told her to hold on to the safety rope. When I reached for it, there was nothing. The rope was gone. Only a frayed end remained, cleanly cut. Someone had taken it, and they weren't finished with us. Claire was close to panicking. She was breathing fast, fogging up the glass on her headlamp. I grabbed her shoulders, more to steady myself than her. Listen, I said quietly but firmly. We have to stay calm. You counted the turns, right? Think, what's next? She shook her head, wide-eyed. I don't know, I counted. 3 right, 2 left, sloped down. But this isn't the path we took. I looked around. The stone seemed to close in tighter. Meaner. The air grew thicker as if the cave itself was breathing out rot, and we were breathing it in. The stench intensified, coagulated, sickly sweet. I listened. There, beneath Claire's panicked breathing. Breathing, not hers, not mine. Something deep, rhythmic, slow inhales and exhales, not coming from any one direction. Around us, from the walls, or beneath them, I signaled her to be silent. She obeyed. We both heard it. Not a growl, not a roar, just breathing like lungs the size of the chamber expanding with our fear. I shone my light upward. Look, I whispered. About 30 feet up, there was a narrow ledge, Natural, recessed into the stone like a lip over a passage. If we could climb up there, maybe we'd get a better view, or at least feel less surrounded. I boosted Claire first, pushing her upward. Her boots kicked loose gravel that rattled down the walls. Each noise made me flinch. It was harder for me, my fingers trembled against sharp edges, legs burning with cold and strain. But I pulled myself up. The ledge was just wide enough for us to crouch. Our lights reached farther. And that's when I saw it, a figure beyond the beams. It was too tall. That was the first thought. Not human tall. Stretched. Long arms, sharp joints, skin so thin you could almost see the ribs tearing through. Its back was turned, pale, covered in sores, its head brushing the ceiling. And it was listening. One long hand braced against the wall, claws slowly scraping the surface, feeling the vibrations. I held my breath. It froze. Silence. No movement. Then its head twisted, not turned, twisted like a branch snapping, until a hollow eye socket faced our way. It didn't blink, didn't move. Claire made a sound, a cross between a gasp and a sob, and I clamped my hand over her mouth. The creature tilted its head. The other hand flexed. The claws, sharp like deer antlers, clicked. Together, click, click, click. Then it slid back into the dark. Not stepping, melting. The way it moved turned my stomach, like it didn't obey gravity at all. I didn't realize I was crying until I tasted salt. We stayed there, I don't know how long, an hour, minutes. Time didn't work down there. Claire finally leaned toward me. Her voice was barely a whisper. "I don't think we found the cave," she said. "I think the cave wanted us to find it." It didn't feel like paranoia. It felt like truth. The walls were slashed. The air was dead. The bones were hung. This wasn't a forgotten tunnel. It was a trap. Bait for the desperate or the curious. I pulled out my backup flashlight and checked what little gear we had left. One signal flare, half a bottle of water, no rope, one knife. We couldn't stay. Whatever it was, it knew we were there. We had to move. I began climbing down and spotted strange lines etched just below our ledge. Uniform, symmetrical, almost like writing, not English, not anything familiar. Dozens of tiny carvings, each identical to the next. Claire saw them too. "They look like the ones near the..." She trailed off, "near the bone bundle." We both knew it. Below us, the breathing started again, but now it was faster, excited. I told Claire to stay. "Don't move. Don't make a sound. Don't turn on your light unless I say so." She didn't argue, just nodded, her fingers digging into the stone. I slipped off the ledge and into a side corridor we hadn't noticed before. It felt older. Walls darker, not burnt by fire, by time itself, or something older than time. Something crunched under my boot. I didn't look. The deeper I went, the warmer it felt. Not physically, emotionally. The air clung to me, stale, rotten heat sticking like grease. I turned a corner and entered a smaller chamber. Oval-shaped. The walls weren't natural stone anymore. They were carved bas-reliefs of figures I didn't recognize. Standing in circles, heads bowed toward the center. In the center, a pit. I couldn't see the bottom. My light didn't reach that far, but I heard something. Shifting. Slowly, wetly, no echo. I backed away before it noticed me. When I returned to the ledge, Claire was gone. No blood, no struggle. Just empty, except for a new bundle of bones. Fresh, not picked clean, still slick with something wet. I didn't scream, didn't cry, I couldn't. My body went numb. Only one thought beat inside my skull. It took her. My flashlight flickered. Not out, just dimmed. like a memory fading under something ancient. I ran. I don't remember the path, only that the cave twisted around me, the same corridor splintering and returning. I kept seeing my own footprints over and over, and then I didn't. The prints were gone. The dust, only smooth stone remained, like no foot had ever touched it. When I collapsed, the sky was above me. Dim morning light trickled through an opening barely big enough to crawl through. Roots hung like fingers. I pulled myself out. I don't remember reaching the car, driving. I woke up in my apartment 2 days later, dehydrated, bruised, raw. Claire's things are still in my trunk. No one's filed a missing person report. No records. No digital trail. It's like she disappeared the moment we entered that place. Only Yesterday, someone slipped something under my door, a strip of pale skin, wrapped with a lock of Claire's hair. I recognized her braid. The skin was burned with markings, the same ones carved into the cave walls. I spent hours trying to match them to anything, runic alphabets, tribal symbols, ancient scripts. Nothing matches, except one symbol keeps repeating. A figure bent backward over a ring of thorns, sometimes with horns, sometimes without a face, sometimes it almost looks like it's smiling. I'm not writing this for fame. I don't care if anyone believes me. I'm writing because inside the strip of skin, there's one more thing, not ancient language, in plain English. 5 words. You should have watched. I haven't slept since, and I'm not sure I should, because sometimes just before dawn, I hear breathing in the walls. You're still here, or has fear already taken you away? If you haven't yet, leave a like and subscribe. Your support breathes life into the darkest stories. I hope we'll meet again soon. Next time, even darker and more terrifying secrets await you. Come back soon while I prepare new nightmares that will haunt your sleep.